afternoon, students. So today morning we discussed about Indian laws. We discussed about the Indian Penal Code today. Okay, morning sessions we discussed about the Indian Penal Code. We were done with the Indian Penal Code. Like we also saw some sections in the Indian Penal Code. Yeah, we're discussing about the Indian Penal Code. Okay, So we saw about the three laws that India had: the Hindu criminal law that was based mainly on the Manusmriti. Okay, the Mohammedan law that came with the Muslim rulers. Okay, they were mainly the laws were based on the Quran. English criminal law. Okay, mainly adopted from the English legislature. We saw the outcomings. Okay, shortcomings of every law, like Hindu laws. Okay, there was more punishments. Okay, and king was supposed to give the punishment. Okay, Muslim or Mohammedan law, there the punishment was very severe, like robbery and all, cutting of hands. So when British came, they wanted to equalize this crime with the punishment given. Okay, that is why they brought the English criminal law. They're still using it. The bill of IPC was passed in 1860. Okay, before independence was passed. References. There is something called IPC Bare Act. Okay, Bare Act is there. You can just search in Google IPC Bare Act PDF. Okay, you will get there directly. You will get the IPC, entire IPC. You can download it and use it. Then now we will go to the Criminal Procedure Code. Okay, CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code. Okay, we are done with IPC. IPC is a substantive law, and now we will go to the procedural law, that is known as CRPC or Criminal Procedural Code. So Criminal Procedure Code, CRPC, is the primary legislation regarding the procedural aspects of criminal law. See, procedural aspects of the criminal law. That means it gives the procedures, how to arrest a person. Okay, it gives the procedures of everything, how to arrest a person. Okay, then is it bailable, cognizable, all those things, all the procedures, when to submit them before the magistrate, how many hours can police keep those persons, all those things is defined in the or given in the all the procedures after you are getting. For example, you did murder. Okay, police came and arrested you. Then what do you do? Then what will they do? Okay, all those procedures, how to write a charge, FIR, everything is given in CRPC. The code contains 484 sections spread along 37 chapters along with 2 schedules and 556 forms. Okay, it has 484 sections. Okay, comparing with 511 sections of IPC, this has 484 sections spread along 37 chapters along with 2 schedules and 56 forms. Okay, it is a procedural law providing the machinery for punishment of offenders under substantive criminal law. So it is a procedural law providing the machinery for punishment of offenders under the substantive criminal law. Now we understood, right, what is the meaning of substantive and procedure? Those who were absent yesterday evening, we discussed about something known as substantive and procedural law. Procedural law is IPC, substantive law is IPC. That means it defines the crime, it shows the punishment and everything. Okay, procedural law means CRPC, evidence and there are procedural laws. Means it shows a procedure of what to do after the criminal, like you did murder, then what to do, how the police can go there, how should they arrest them, everything is given in procedural laws, that is CRPC. It provides the machinery for investigation of crime, apprehension of suspected criminals, collection of evidence, determination of guilt or innocence of the accused person, and the determination of punishment of the guilty. Okay, it defines the machinery for investigation. How do you investigate? Okay, apprehension of suspected criminals. How do you apprehend the suspected criminals? Okay, there were so many suspects. So how do you apprehend them? Then collection of evidence. How do you collect evidence? Who can be expert? Who gives expert testimony? Everything is given in CRPC. It also deals with public nuisance, prevention of offences, and maintenance of wife, children, and parents. There are some things that DRP deals with, that is just public nuisance, prevention of offences, and maintenance of wife, children, or parents. Yeah, brief history. So earlier there was no uniform criminal procedure until the Code of Criminal Procedure of 1882. It was replaced by the code in 1898. Okay, the act was amended in 1923 and 1955. The code was repealed by the code and enacted by the parliament on 25th January 1974 and made effective. Okay, just need to learn that this code was enacted by the parliament on, the date was 25th January 1974. Okay, 25th January 1974. Learn that date. Okay, and made effective from 1974. Okay. Yes. Now we will learn some definitions. Okay. Now we will learn some definition in CRPC as per CRPC. We have so many definitions in IPC also. In CRPC also we have so many definitions. So you are supposed to learn them. It's good if you know CRPC. You can read CRPC when you have time. So section 2, subclause N. Okay. In section 2 we have A, B, C like that. Okay. So section 2 subclause N of the CRPC defines the word offense. Offense means an act of omission, act or omission made punishable by any law. So what is offense? Offense means any act or omission made punishable by law. Okay, any act or omission made punishable by law. So in offenses we have something like any act or omission. Okay, offense can be doing something, okay, also omitting something or not doing something. For example, see, there's something called, there's a water body. Okay, water body, something like sea. Okay, this was a sea, and there was our main characteristics A and B. A and B were there. Okay, A did not know how to swim. Okay, A did not know how to swim. Fine. So what B did is, B pushed A into the sea. Okay, he could not swim, but B pushed A into the sea. Okay. Well, for example, they were in a boat. Okay, and B pushed A into the sea. A can't swim, right? So what did B do? He's killing A, right? So that's a crime. Okay, so that is an act that is punishable by law. Okay, you get culpable homicide or murder, all those charges comes here. He's pushing A in for death. He knows that A doesn't know how to swim, so that comes under a crime. So that is an act which constitutes a crime. Then we'll know what is an omission. So act is done, then omission. Okay, the same thing. We'll go back to the sea. Okay, there was a sea. Sea was there. There was A who did not know how to swim, and he was drowning. Okay, he did not know how to swim, and he was drowning. And there was a coast guard. For example, there was a coast guard. He was a coast guard. Coast guard was there. Excuse me. Okay, so we were talking about omissions. Okay, so A was drowning in the water, and this man, he was the coast guard. Okay, he saw A drowning in the water, and it is his duty to save him, right? It is his duty to save that person, and he did not do anything. Okay, he was just standing there and seeing A drowning. He did not do anything. So he was supposed to help A. Okay, and he omitted that act. He did not do that. That means omission of act. So he is also punishable. He did not give that he is also committing an offense, because an offense means an act or omission that is punishable under law. So he is not doing his duty. That means he is omission of duty, and he is not saving it. That means he is also punishable. He is also doing an offense. Okay, the coast guard is also doing an offense. So understood what is omission and act. So offense can be to mean any act or omission made punishable by law. It can be any act or omission made punishable by the law. An offence is what the legislature classes as punishable. Offence is something that legislature classes as punishable. For example, you are hitting someone, okay, you're slapping someone, that comes under section 314, that is hurt, okay, hurting someone. So that is also punishable offence, okay. You are hitting someone and breaking their bone, okay, that becomes grievous hurt, okay, you will be sent to jail, that is known as grievous hurt, okay. So that is also punishable. So offence is anything that is punishable under the law. Mens rea, a bad intention or a guilt, is essential ingredient in every offence, okay. To do an offence you have to have mens rea, okay. Mens rea, guilty mind. I told you so many times, you are killing someone for like accidental something, court won't presume that you are guilty, okay. They will only, sometimes they will just give you fine, okay, or 1 or 2 years maximum in jail, or they will let you free, okay. So mens rea, if there is mens rea, that is guilty mind is there and you are killing him with intention, that means you are going to life imprisonment, okay, you are going under murder. So you will have life imprisonment or death penalty, okay, and you will also have some fine. So mens rea is an important part. Bailable offence, you ever heard of bailable offence? There are so many offences known as bailable offences, non-bailable offences, that are all defined in when you take the Bail Act, you can see the schedules, okay, schedules. In that schedules you can see, first schedule you can see what are the bailables and non-bailable offences. Mostly when you download it from the internet you won't be able to see the schedule part, so when you get the book you can actually read the schedule part. So section 2A of CRPC defines bailable offences as the offences that has been shown in first schedule as bailable or which is made bailable by any other law for time being in the force. So there is something called the first schedule. In the first schedule you can see which all offences are bailable and which are not bailable, which are cognizable and which are non cognizable. So bailable just means that you have the right to bail, okay. Bail is like an agreement, like for example, police caught you, okay, police caught you for something, and if you have some other person, they can come and write the bail bond, okay, that this person will go out of this place, okay, he will come back whenever he is called. All those things they can write the bail and you will submit and you can release that person, okay. You want you to stay in the custody, that is known as bailable offences. As per the last item of the first schedule, an offence in order to be bailable would have to be an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for less than 3 years or fine only, okay. So bailable means any offences that the punishment should be less than 3 years, okay, and with fine only, okay, and fine only. So example, simple hurt, you slap someone, okay, they won't keep you in custody for every day. If you have someone to come and bail, they will let you free, okay, you will just need to go for the court procedure. So section 337, simple hurt. So as per the last item, in order to something to be bailable, the punishment of that offence has to be less than 3 years. You cannot kill someone, you cannot murder someone, okay, and the police will catch you and you cannot go out on bail or something, okay. You cannot go out and they will catch you and keep you in custody only. You kill 2 people, okay, and you cannot tell that this offence is a bailable offence, okay. So bailable is anything that mostly will be having imprisonment for less than 3 years or with fine only. Non-bailable offences, these are offences that police won't release you, okay, they will keep you in custody. So non-bailable offence, as per section 2A of CRPC, non-bailable offence includes all those offences which are not included in bailable offence in the first. So when you open this first schedule, you can see bailable and non-bailable offences, cognizable and non-cognizable offences, all those things. Further, the first schedules in the second part in its end define that non-bailable offences as the offences which are punishable with death, okay, offences which are punishable with death, imprisonment for life, imprisonment for more than 7 years, okay, they can be imprisoned for life, death penalty or 7 years or more. All those kind of crimes you cannot go and bail, okay, they won't provide you the bail. Right to bail, okay, right to bail is in section 50 of CRPC. And non-bailable offences, you also have some rights to bail in non-bailable offences, okay. So that is in section 437. So Okay, so we'll do one thing. We'll open the CRPC and check section 50 and further decide. So bailable offences as per section 50 of CRPC. What does that mean? We'll open section 50 of CRPC and check. This is CRPC. This is known as BEAR Act. This is known as BEAR Act, CRPC. See, all the chapters, classes of everything is mentioned in CRPC. Okay, you can see title, extent, definitions, construction, then classification of criminal court, territories, metropolitan areas, court of sessions, who are judicial magistrates, subordinate courts, what are the types of courts, all those things are mentioned here. Then we have power of court, what all powers the High Court has, what all powers the Sessions Court has, all those is mentioned here. Powers of superior police officers, aid to magistrate and police. So when can a public person aid magistrate and police? That is also mentioned here. We can also aid the law. Arrest of person. Okay, when can police arrest without warrant? All those things. Searching of arrested person. I told you, right? This is all procedural. Every procedure is written here. How to search and arrest person. Everything is written in CRPC. Summons case, warrant case, attachment proclamation, then search warrant. When can search warrant be issued? Okay. Which section were we checking? Unlawful assembly is here. So you can see first itself criminal procedure code. Okay, its title and extension is here. Definitions, bailable offences. Okay, it's written here properly. When you get the time, you can read bailable offences. What is bailable offences? What is charge? What is cognizable? We'll come to cognizable offences. What is High Court? What is India? Everything is mentioned here. What is an offence? I told you, right? Second N. Offence means any act or omission made punishable by any law the time being. We were concerned with section 50 of CRPC. We will check section 50 of CRPC. (47), 49, and there we are, 50. Yes. Section 50, person arrested to be informed of grounds of arrest and right to bail. Okay. Every police officer or other person arresting any person without warrant shall forthwith communicate him to full particulars of the offence for which he is arrested or on the ground for such an arrest. Whenever a police officer arrests you, you have the right to ask, why are they arresting me? Okay, you have all the right because CRPC provides you. The section 50 provides you that right. You can ask them, why are you arresting me? Okay, what is the law behind arresting me? They are supposed to answer. Okay, they are supposed to answer by the code. So, every police officer or other person arresting any person without warrant shall forthwith communicate to him full particulars of the offence for which he is arrested or other grounds for his arrest. Where a police officer arrests without warrant any person other than a person accused of non-bailable offence, he shall inform the person arrested that he is entitled to be released on bail and he may arrange for sureties on his behalf. So, police officer must tell the person if that offence is non-bailable, nothing can be done. Okay, if that offence is bailable, the police has to tell that person which he arrested that this offence is bailable. You can call someone, you can call your advocate, or you can call your sureties, and on their behalf you can be released. Okay, you can go out, you don't need to stay here. So police officer must tell you. So it's written here clearly in the CRPC. Then one more is there, right? For non-bailable offences, section 437 of CRPC. (437) of CRPC. It's a big section. So we'll see. If you are caught for a non-bailable offence like murder, is a non-bailable offence. So what are the procedures? Is there any chance to get bail? That is discussed in this section. So when a person accused of or suspected of the commission of any non-bailable offence is arrested or detained without warrant by an officer in charge of the police station, or appears or is brought before court or higher court of session, he may be released on bail. He may be released on bail under some conditions. So what are the conditions? Such person shall not be so released if there appears reasonable ground for believing that he has been guilty of offence punishable with death or imprisonment for life. Okay, he will not be released if there appears reasonable ground that this person committed an offence that is punishable by death. Okay, he killed two persons. Okay, it's punishable by death. Double murder he is doing. It's punishable by death. So, and there is enough reasonable ground, there is enough doubt that this person was there. Okay, there some people must have seen him. Witnesses were there. They were telling this person was here. So there was enough doubt to think that this person did that crime. So at that time, what they will do? He cannot be sent on bail. Okay. Then the second one is, such person shall not be released if such offence is cognizable offence and he has been previously convicted for an offence punishable with death, imprisonment for life, imprisonment for 7 years or more, or he had been previously convicted or 2 or more occasions available of cognizance of it. So second one means that you cannot be released on bail if that person had committed some offence before he had committed some offence on which there were punishment, which were punished with death, imprisonment for life, or more than 7. He had committed, for example, you murdered someone. Okay, you murdered someone and you got 10 years imprisonment. For example, you murdered someone, you got 10 years imprisonment. Okay, then you are doing another crime. Okay, you are doing some another murder. Okay, you are doing the second time murder. You won't be able to get the bail because bail you won't get the because you already did a crime that was heinous. Okay, that was like 10 years death, imprisonment, all those punishments were there for the first crime itself. Okay, you are doing it again, they won't grant you bail because you are already a previous convict. Okay, they won't grant you bail. Your character is not that good. Court knows that. So there are some special reasons also where they can provide bail. Okay, that you can read. I have included that in the presentation, so you can read this section. Today morning I told you to read another one more section, right? An IPC, and this section also you can read because that is in the PPT, so it will be easy for you to find it out. 437. Yes, anticipatory bail. What is an anticipatory bail? Anticipatory bail, in case a person is of the apprehension that he might be arrested on the accusation of a non-bailable offence, he can apply the High Court or the Court of Sessions for a bail under 438 of CRPC. The grant of bail will be discretion of the High Court. So if there is like there are 2 persons involved in murder, okay, and one of you and your friend murdered someone, okay, you and your friend murdered someone, okay, and the court is going to arrest you now, okay, that is like an offence. So that's a non-bailable offence. Murder is a non-bailable offence. So whenever it's a non-bailable offence, and your friend already got caught. Okay, your friend already got caught, and now we are already afraid that you will be caught now, right? He will tell your name and you will be caught. If it's a good friend, he won't, but if it's your friends, they will tell your name and you will also be caught. Both will go down together. Okay, so what you do is you can apply for an anticipatory bail. Anticipatory bail means before the police coming and arresting you, you can have a bail. Okay, you can already have a bail from the court, high court or court of sessions. That is according to sections 438 of CRPC. We have to read the section 438 also. So that is known as anticipatory bail. Okay, so we will go and read 438. 437 is there. Now 438. See, this giving this bail, anticipatory bail, this decision is only on the court. Okay, if the court wants, they can give the bail. If court denies, no bail. Okay, so when a person 438 direction for grant of bail to a person apprehending arrest, he is waiting for arrest. Okay, so how can I give bail for that person? So when any person has reason to believe that he may be arrested on accusation of having committed a non-bailable offence, he may apply to the High Court or Court of Sessions for direction under this section, and court if they think that he is fit. Okay, if they think it's fit, direct that in an event of such arrest he shall be released on bail. Okay, so when the High Court or Session Court make directions under subsection 1, it may include. So what are the conditions? Conditions for giving anticipatory bail. So one condition is that person shall make himself available for interrogation by the police when it is required. So first condition is you have to be there. Okay, you have to be made available whenever the police calls you for interrogation. You have to come there. You have to try and give that. You will come for interrogation when the police calls you. Whenever the police calls you, you will come. Okay, you won't be able to leave your place. A condition that person shall not directly or indirectly make any inducement, threat or promise to any person acquainted with the fact of the case to dissuade him from disclosing such fact to the court or police officer. So that means you and your friend killed someone, that's fine. Okay, there's some other person who saw it. Okay, one of your other friends saw it, so you know that he is a witness. So you have to tell that you will not give any threat or inducement or promise, so that you will not threaten your friend not to give the witness evidences. Okay, witness testimony. You must not threaten them. You must not try to hamper the evidences. All those things, if you try to give, they will provide you the bail. They will think if they seems you are fit, then they will provide you the bail. A condition that person shall not leave India without permission of court. So another condition is they must not leave India without court permission. Such other conditions imposed under subsection 3 of 437 by bail. Okay, so there is 437 subsection C. You can read that. So okay, so these are the main conditions. Fine. That person should make himself available for police interrogation whenever they call. Okay, then he must not threaten with the witnesses or hamper the evidences. He must not do that. Then he must not leave India without the permission of court. There is another some more that is under 437 that you can read. The grant of bail will be on the discretion of the court, subject to certain conditions. Okay. So conditions are mentioned here. Same condition which we read. Conditions are mentioned here. Make yourself available for interrogations. All those conditions. Next one is known as cognizable offence. You must have heard this term in TVs and shows and everything. Cognizable. This is a cognizable offence, non-bailable offence. So what does cognizable offence mean? Cognizable means it is an offence in which the police officer may, in accordance with the first schedule or under any other law from time being, arrest without warrant. They can come and arrest you directly. Okay, like murder is a non-cognizable offence. Murder is a cognizable offence. Like they can come and arrest. If you kill someone and you are standing there and the police comes and arrests you, that you cannot tell them that you cannot arrest me. So because it's a cognizable offence. Okay, they have all the authority to arrest you without a warrant. They can start an investigation without the permission of court. Police can start the investigation right there itself. Okay, they can check for the, excuse me. Sorry for that, some technical errors. So yeah, cognizable offense, we are telling like murder and all. Police can come and arrest you without any warrant. Okay, they can start the investigation there itself. There is evidence there. They can collect the evidences. Okay, they can do the investigation there. If there is someone who saw the witness was there who saw that you killed that person, they can start asking them. They can take in notes. All those things police officer can do. So they can start the investigation without the permission of court. Okay, they can directly start the investigation for cognizable offences. Cognizable offences are generally heinous, serious in nature, such as murder, rape, kidnapping, theft, dowry, death, etc. These are mainly serious crimes. Okay, mainly serious crimes: rape, murder, kidnapping, dowry, death, all those things. Dowry means you ask some money from the girl's family, right? When you are getting married, that is known as dowry. That is not. That is like if that girl is killed, if that girl is or woman is killed in like 7 years. After marriage, if that woman is killed before like 7 years, court will presume that they killed this woman for that dowry, for asking more money from the woman's side. So that is what court presumes. There is dowry death section in IPC. You can search for that. So court will presume whenever a newly married couple is there, and if that in like before 7 years, if the wife dies, the first presumption will be dowry death. Okay, then only they will investigate and tell that it's not dowry death or anything. So you must know so many cases. So if you are newly married and your wife dies in like 1 year, that means police will mainly presume that it's because of dowry. You didn't get that much money from the girl's family or woman's family. Okay, before that you killed her. So they will presume like that. First information report is registered only in cognizable offence. So FIR, first information report, is registered in cognizable offences. Okay, FIR is registered. So once it's a cognizable offence, police arrest you, they can register an FIR. Okay, then you're doomed. You know, right? So first information report is registered in cognizable offences. Non-cognizable offences, what are those? Here, these are cases in which police officer has no authority to arrest you without warrant. So that is why you have to learn the law. Okay, if you are doing some simple hurt or something, okay, public nuisance or something, they are all non-cognizable offences. Non-cognizable. If police officer comes and arrests you, you can ask them. You have no authority to arrest you, sir. You can ask them, why are you arresting me? Or why are you arresting me? You have no authority to bring a warrant. Okay, you can tell them directly. If you are telling them like that, you need to learn the law. Okay, you need to learn the law. That is why law is very important. That's why I am teaching you law. Just the basics. Okay, so non-cognizable offences, these are cases in which police officer has no authority to arrest you without a warrant. Okay, police cannot start an investigation without the permission of court. Okay, police cannot start an investigation. They have no authority to come to your house and search and all. If this is non-cognizable offence, they have to have permission from the court order they have to have. Okay, so the crimes like forgery, cheating, defamation, public nuisance, etc. all fall under the cognizable, non-cognizable crimes. You cheated someone or you defamed someone, you told something about some other person, okay, you told something bad about something other person, that he takes bribery, something like that you told, okay, that is not defamation, you are defaming that person, right, you are corrupting the image of that person, so that is known as defamation. So that is non-cognizable. Police can come and he can complain that this person did like this, he defamed me, and he can give a complaint. But police cannot come and arrest you based on that. Okay, that is not the right way. So a criminal complaint is lodged with the metropolitan magistrate, who is supposed to order the concerned police officer to intake. So here in the cognizable cases, FIR was launched, right? So in these cases, for example, defamation, A defamed B, so B had to go to the court and tell that this was done, okay, and he had to give a complaint there, complaint to the magistrate, okay, then the magistrate will tell the police station to investigate into this crime. So then what happens, the police officer is supposed to file a charge sheet with the court, which is followed by the trial. So they, after investigating, they have to file something known as charge sheet. Okay, in some movies you have heard they file a charge sheet, that means it is a non-cognizable offence. Sometimes you hear they filed FIR, that means it's cognizable offence. Okay, after the trial, if accused is found guilty, the court passes the order to issue warrant to arrest the accused. Understood? So what does this do? We have to go to the magistrate and give the complaint. Okay, then the magistrate will ask the police officers to search, and they will issue a charge sheet, okay, based on these charges. Then the police officer will start investigating, okay, and after investigating, if they found out that you defamed this person, you told something about the person that corrupted his image, okay, you defamed this person, then what happens? Then the court shall issue warrant to arrest. Then only court shall issue an arrest warrant. Okay, defamation is a crime. Okay, it's mentioned in the IPC. It's punishable also. So court will issue a warrant for your arrest. So you understood what is cognizable and non-cognizable offence, right? So one of the important sections that we are concerned with in CRPC is section 293. Okay, section 293. So I will read that section and we will finish with CRPC. I have read wrote the references also. So finally we read that section. So I will just brief you about CRPC. Introduction and all is fine. 484 sections. It's a procedural law. Brief history. Okay, we will study this, which was enacted on 25th January 1974. What is offence? Better to read from the CRPC directly, okay, rather than reading from PPT. Bailable offence, when can you have the authority to bail, okay? What is bailable offence? What is non-bailable offences, okay? Study the two sessions, section 50 for bailable, section 437 for non-bailable. Anticipatory bail, when can you send an anticipatory bail? That is upon section 438 of CRPC. Cognizable offence, what is cognizable offence? That is given in the schedule, the part 1. First schedule is given. Then non-cognizable offence. Yeah. Finally, we will read about the reports of certain scientific. Reports of certain scientific, government scientific workspace expert means you, okay, as a forensic scientist, you will be a government scientist. If you are in a government lab, you will be a government expert, right? So, report given by you, that is what we are going to discuss now. That is in 293. So, we will take CRPC, we will go to 293. Yeah, most students have doubt about the things, PPTs I told you, right? So, don't worry, you don't need to write and all in the book, okay? You don't need to write about the PPTs and all in the book, you don't need to do like that. You are not 12th standard students now, you are in college, it's upon you. If you want to make notes, you can make notes, okay? I am not like telling you to make notes compulsory or something like that. You are the ones who decide now. Now onwards, like life is in your hands, you decide your future. So, if you want to get to good marks, you have to start writing your own notes. It's better to write your own notes. So, at the time of exams, it will be very easy for you, okay? If you are not writing your own notes, at the time of exams, you will be looking at everything together, you will be studying and able to blunder, okay? So, try making your own notes, okay? It's not a compulsion or something. You write your own notes, okay? You know, you are like big people now, you are a citizen of India now, like, okay? So, you make your own notes. You have the right to vote, right? That is what I meant. You are all voters now, so you have your own right to make your own notes also. Which section will you be searching for? 293. The only thing I made you to write is about that allied institutions, okay? That is something you have to write and show me. Other things, you study by yourself. I have sent you the PPT, you can read them, you can make notes, read books. If still I forgot to section 293. Two 91, 92 and 93. Okay. Yes. So, reports of certain government scientific expert. Okay, if you are in a government laboratory, you are also a government scientific expert. Okay, you may be a fingerprint expert, ballistic expert, biology expert, serology expert, DNA expert. Okay, depends. So, any document pertaining to a report under the hand of a government scientific expert to whom section applies upon any matter or thing duly submitted. Fine, I will explain the section what it means. If court may thinks it fits, summon and examine such expert in subject matter. So, if for example I am giving a forensic report, I am a government examiner, I am giving my report. So, court can summon me to court, court can call me to court, okay. The court can call me for that proceeding and ask me questions, okay, about the reports, all those things. That is what is mentioned in this section. The court has the authority to summon you, and if you are not able to come, where such expert is summoned by court is unable to attend personally, he may, unless the court has expressed directly to him, appear, dispute any responsible officer working under him. Okay, he can send any responsible officer working under him to court also on his behalf. So, this section has provided about some experts. So, only some expert is provided. Like this section applies to government scientific experts, namely chemical examiner or assistant chemical examiner to government, chief inspector of explosives, director of fingerprint bureau, director of Hafkin Institute, Bombay, the director, deputy director, or assistant director of Central Forensic Science Laboratory or State Forensic Science Laboratory, the serologist to the government. All these persons are the ones who are eligible under these sections. Don't worry, if you are in a private lab also, there is something known as Indian Evidence Act. Okay, you will deal with all the evidences and the testimonies there also. Okay, you will deal with Indian Evidence Act. Tomorrow we will try to deal with Indian Evidence Act. So, as per CRPC, these were the people which are eligible. So, tomorrow we will deal with Indian Evidence Act. So, what you have to do is download CRPC, download Constitution of India, download IPC, okay, and try reading. You are at your home now, right? You won't have too much work. So, try reading these laws. It's not just for forensic, it will be useful everywhere. Okay, you can tell the police officers that this is not cognizable, this is not bailable. You will have the authority to tell them, okay, then they will think that you know the law. It's very good. So, try to learn law. Okay, thank you.